In our study of the law of torts, we must consider where the boundary of legal responsibility is drawn. Today, we will explore the doctrine of remoteness of damage to understand this very question.
Our discussion will be structured around 6 key areas. We will begin with the foundational principle of remoteness, then examine the historical and modern legal tests, explore important exceptions, and finally discuss how the causal chain can be broken before we conclude with a revision of the key takeaways.
So let us begin. Section 1 addresses the principle of remoteness, which truly serves as the foundation of liability in tort law. The definition of remoteness of damage states that a person is liable only when their wrongful conduct is directly or immediately related to the effect of their action. This is guided by the legal maxim, Injure, non-remota causa sed proxima spectator. This means that in law, the immediate, not the remote cause of any event is to be considered. Essentially, the law must draw a line to prevent liability from extending infinitely to every consequence of an act, no matter how far-fetched. Now, let us examine how courts historically determined this line of liability. We turn to Section 2, the Test of Directness, which was the original standard applied. In the development of this doctrine, 2 competing tests emerged. The first is the Test of Directness. Under this stringent rule, a person is held liable for all direct consequences of their wrongful act, regardless of whether they could have foreseen them. The second, which is the modern standard, is the Test of Reasonable Foresight. Here, liability is imposed only if the consequences could have been foreseen by a reasonable man. This table illustrates the evolution of legal thought. The test of directness established in the case of Polemis holds a defendant liable for all direct results. This standard is now largely rejected. In its place, the preferred modern standard is the test of reasonable foresight, which originated from the Wagon Mound No. case and ties liability to foreseeable results. To properly understand the test of directness, we must examine the landmark case that established it, and arbitration between Polemis and Furnace Withy & Company, cited as 1921, 3 Kings Bench, page 560. Let us analyze the Polemis case. The issue before the court was whether a defendant is liable for an unforeseeable fire caused by a falling plank. The rule applied was that a defendant is liable for all damage directly traceable to their negligent act. In this case, stevedores dropped a plank into a ship's hold, which unexpectedly caused a spark, igniting petrovapor and destroying the ship. The conclusion was that the defendants were liable for the full value of the ship, because the fire, although unforeseeable, was a direct result of the negligent act. The strictness of the Polemis rule eventually led the judiciary to reconsider this approach. This brings us to Section 3, the Test of Foresight, which marks a significant modern shift in the law. The pivotal case that ushered in this change is Overseas Tank Ship UK Limited versus Mort's Dock and Engineering Company, cited as 1961 1 All England Law Reports, page 404, Privy Council. This case is more commonly known as Wagon Mound No. 1. Analyzing Wagon Mound No. 1, the central issue was whether the rule from Polemis should be rejected in favor of a reasonable foresight test. The court established a new rule. Culpability and compensation are to be determined by what a reasonable man would foresee. In this instance, oil leaked from a ship, but the subsequent fire was caused by molten metal from repair work on a nearby wharf. The court concluded that the defendants were not liable for the fire, as such an event was not a reasonably foreseeable consequence of the oil spill. However, the modern standard of foreseeability is not without its own complexities. In Section 4, we will examine the exceptions and nuances that have refined this rule. Let us consider a problem. Post office workers leave a manhole open and they surround it with paraffin lamps for safety. An 8-year-old boy then drops one of these lamps into the manhole, which results in a large unforeseeable explosion. The legal question is the post office liable for the boy's injuries? The solution is yes, the defendant is liable. The legal reasoning hinges on a critical distinction. Although the extent of the damage, meaning the explosion, was not foreseeable, the kind of damage, which is injury by burning from a paraffin lamp, was foreseeable. This principle was established in the case of Hughes versus Lord Advocate, cited as 1963 1 All England Law Reports, page 705, House of Lords. This leads us to another crucial exception, the eggshell skull rule. This rule dictates that a defendant must take the victim as he finds them. This means that if a victim has a particular pre-existing weakness or vulnerability, the defendant is liable for the full extent of the injury that occurs, even if that extent was unforeseeable due to the victim's condition. The landmark case that exemplifies the eggshell skull rule is Smith v. Leachbrain and Company Limited, cited as 1962, 2 Queen's Bench, page 405.
In our analysis of Smith versus Leachbrain, the issue was whether an employer is liable when a minor burn to an employee triggers a fatal cancer due to a pre-existing condition. The court applied the rule that a defendant cannot plead that the victim's physical weakness made the damage too remote. As a result, the employer was held fully liable for the employee's death, even though that outcome was not foreseeable to a person without the pre-existing condition.
We now proceed to Section 5, where we will discuss events that can sever liability entirely. This is the concept of breaking the causal chain, known in law as novus actus interveniens. Novus actus interveniens is a Latin term meaning a new act intervening. It refers to an act that breaks the chain of causation between the initial defendant's act and the final damage. It is critical to note, however, that the chain is not broken if this intervening act was itself a direct or foreseeable consequence of the original negligent act. Let's apply this through 2 problems. In problem 1, Ram throws a lighted cigar onto a hay cart, which then burns. The result is that he is liable, as his act is the proximate cause. In problem 2, a stranger maliciously blocks a wash basin pipe that was left running, causing an overflow that damages goods. The result is that the person who left the tap running is not liable for the damage. The stranger's malicious act is a novus actus interveniens, breaking the causal chain. To further clarify the limits of this doctrine, we must examine the foundational case of Scott v. Shepard from the year 1773. Analyzing Scott v. Shepard, the issue was whether the first person who threw a firecracker is liable if others subsequently threw it away in acts of self-preservation. The court established the rule that the chain of causation is not broken if the intermediate acts are involuntary or done for self-preservation. Here, Shepard threw a lighted firework. 2 other individuals tossed it away to protect themselves before it ultimately injured the plaintiff. The conclusion was that Shepard was liable, as his initial acts started the chain of acts that were natural and foreseeable consequences. This brings us to our 6th and final section, application and revision. Here, we will synthesize the key principles for the purpose of examination and practical understanding. Let us quickly revise the key takeaways. First, remoteness limits liability to proximate, not distant causes. Second, the test of directness from Polemis imposes liability for all direct results. Third, the modern test of foresight from Wagon Mound limits liability to what a reasonable man would predict. Fourth, the Hughes Rule states that the kind of damage must be foreseeable, not its full extent. Fifth, the eggshell skull rule holds that a defendant must take the victim as they find them. And finally, a novus actus, or new intervening act, breaks the chain of causation unless it was foreseeable or involuntary. In conclusion, the doctrine of remoteness of damage demonstrates the law's effort to strike a delicate balance. It balances culpability, which is the wrong done, with compensation, the amount to be paid. By grounding liability in the foresight of a reasonable person, the law ensures that legal responsibility remains fair, just, and connected to predictable outcomes.